next Karate Kid. Yes, the fourth Karate Kid movie in the Karate Kid saga. Now, this movie was released in 1994 by Columbia Pictures. This time was the first Karate Kid film not directed by original director John G. Avildsen, but directed by Christopher Cain. This is also the first Karate Kid movie not to have the main star, Daniel LaRusso, portrayed by Ralph Macchio, return in any shape or form for this movie. This movie has a new student in it, portrayed by Hilary Swank, with Pat Morita returning as Mr. Miyagi. So let's get right into this movie. So I will say that back in the 90s, I had no idea this movie was even coming out. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if it premiered in theaters. It may have, I don't know. But I just remember going into a video rental store sometime in 94, 95, and seeing a poster on the video store wall for this, where you see Pat Morita on one side of the poster, and you see Hilary Swank on the other, and it says, the next Karate Kid. And I thought, whoa, they're doing another Karate Kid movie. I didn't even know about this. So I got excited. I went out and rented this VHS tape back in the day, and I watched this movie. Now, I will get into the original Karate Kid movie. The Karate Kid from '84 is one of my best all-time favorite movies. It has a place in my heart. I give it a rating of an 11 out of a scale 1 to 10. It's that good. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. It was also directed by John G. Avildsen, who directed the original 1976 smash hit Rocky, which I love as well. So, it's just a great movie, and it told the story in 1984 of young bully teenager Daniel LaRusso, portrayed by Ralph Macchio, who was being bullied nonstop, and they came into contact with a handyman in his apartment complex, Mr. Miyagi, portrayed by Pat Morita. And I will say, that was a smash hit. There was some really good original training montages in here, and it had heart and soul for both characters. Great soundtrack, great actors, great characters, great 80s movie altogether. And what a wicked climactic karate tournament ending, I will say that much, which to this day is the best movie theater experience I've ever had in my entire life, where I was 11 years old, and essentially everybody got on their feet and cheered on Daniel throughout the karate tournament, and they just jumped up in a roar of hoorays, cheering, clapping during the climactic fight. Never seen that since. Seen it a few times minorly in the Rocky movies in theaters, which is cool, but never to that extent. So let me fast forward 10 years later after that movie, and now we're into the fourth movie in 1994, and I watched this movie. I will tell you this. This movie, if I could describe it in one word, was horrible. Just downright horrible. And I'm going to get into why. First of all, Daniel Russo, Ralph Macchio obviously doesn't return for this movie. It's the first one he doesn't come back for, and for good reason. I mean, he probably saw the script around for the hills. But the bottom line here is Pat Morita, he portrays Mr. Miyagi still to a T. I'll give credit. If there's anything good about the movie, he continues this portrayal as Mr. Miyagi. So what we have now is he's traveled out to see his for a funeral for his old World War II buddy that passed away, and he comes into contact with the granddaughter, Julie Pierce, portrayed by Hilary Swank. And she's a teenage girl who's dealing with her own tragedy. There's a real good backstory, I will say, for this character. Her parents were killed in a tragic car crash. She's now being raised by her grandmother, and grandmother is basically seeking Mr. Miyagi's advice what to do, because she's your typical teenager, doesn't listen to anything, doesn't follow the rules, sneaks out of the house, etc. So that's interesting in itself. I'll give credit where credit's due, and I think all the actors in this movie give it their all for what they're given here. But let's get into the other characters. So she becomes really good friends, and there's sort of a love interest between another teenager named Eric McGowan, portrayed by Chris Conrad. And he does an okay job too. But I'm going to start to get into how the movie just goes bad quick. So what we have here is we have a group of, and I still don't understand what they do at the school. They're like guardians. They walk around the school. They have military uniforms on to make sure no one's skipping out of class and stuff like that. And the leader, Ned, played by actor Michael Cavallari, is just the ultimate jerk. He's a bully. He goes to a part of a military group, and he goes around tormenting people in the school, and he torments this Aaron McGowan guy who he bullies. Then he starts targeting Julie Pierce because she hangs out with him. And there's some questionable things in this movie where he gets kind of physical with the character of Julie Pierce, and you're thinking, this just isn't normal. Like, guys don't go around bullying girls in the middle of high school. It's just, when I grew up, if you saw that, the guys would step in and say, enough's enough. Like, guys bully guys, girls bully girls. But it just doesn't make sense in this movie, nor does it make sense now. When you watch it, it's just downright creepy. Like, hey, I'm pretty sure if you just told the principal what this guy was doing, enough would be enough. So these kids are all mentored by Colonel Dugan, a military colonel, portrayed by Michael Ironside. Michael Ironside is a Canadian actor, but he's also known for some villainous roles. He's also done really good acting portrayals. He was in Top Gun, did an awesome job in the original Top Gun with Tom Cruise. Um, this wasn't his best movie by any means. So he trains these kids. There's one other bully kid in here, or I should say, one of the bullies is one of the army students. His name's Charlie, but he's played by a great actor, Walton Goggins, who's not even known back then when he portrayed this small character. But now he went on to justify it. If you Google who he is, you'll know who he is. He's a really good actor. So he plays one of these bullies too. This movie just is outrageous. Now there's a scene where Buddhist monks are involved, and they break tradition, kind of a cool thing in this movie to connect with Julie, and it's just so stupid. It would never happen, and it just doesn't make any sense. The karate techniques in this movie that Miyagi tries to share, getting her to do the chores the original chores from the Karate Kid, or not even the night and day from the original Karate Kid. They're so silly. There's a scene where she has to deal with daycare kids to try and build her patience. I mean, this movie just feels so contrived and rushed. Um, Let me just get into the climactic ending here. There's going to be some spoilers, but I think I'm doing you a favor because if you haven't seen this movie, you probably don't want to see it. Or if you want to see this movie, it's good to view a movie, how to destroy a franchise, because I gave a Die Hard review, A Good Day to Die Hard with Bruce Willis, the fifth movie in the Die Hard series. That movie was atrocious, horrible, and it destroyed what the other movies stood for. This is similar, this movie here. I want to preface by saying I have no problem with the student being a female, a fresh reboot. I like fresh reboots, I really do. But it just was so stupid and unrealistic. It didn't make sense. Again, these army students rotating through a high school, and the principal seems to not know what's going on. It just seems bizarre, especially in the year 1994. I think we progressed a little bit from the 80s here. The final climactic scene is so outrageous and stupid, where the students face down with Aaron McGowan, and Aaron doesn't want to fight, and then Julie Pierce jumps in with Miyagi and says, "I'll fight them." And Miyagi basically says, "Yeah, go ahead," type thing, and she faces off against Ned, and it's a full-on fight, and it just seems ridiculous and silly to me. Some of the techniques used in this, um, and then you see Colonel Dugan, portrayed by Michael Ironside, coaching his character, his student Ned, and telling him, "Finish her, go in there." It's like, and his voice is just so ridiculous. It's like watching nails on a chalkboard, I guess you could say, a train wreck. I will say every Karate Kid film has featured a special new signature move. Um, Julie Pierce's signature move combines, I guess, gymnastics with karate. It's ridiculous. It's actually funny to watch. If you want to YouTube just the ending of the next Karate Kid, spare yourself from watching this atrocious movie. Just watch the climactic. Well, it's not really climactic, but the final fight in this movie, and you'll probably get a fairly good chuckle out of it. I still do. I think it's ridiculous. This movie was just horrible. The acting was horrible. The only acting that was any good in this movie might have been Pat Morita portraying Mr. Miyagi, but I felt embarrassed for him at the same time, going, this is not the Miyagi I know. Why are you in this movie? To me, it made no sense. It almost felt like Pat Morita needed to make another movie for a paycheck or something, but it wasn't well done. I mean, even the original director, John G. Avildsen, bailed out of this one. Hilary Swank, I mean, she's a great actress. I mean, they're all fairly good actors and actresses in this movie. It's just, given the product they're given, it's just not very good. No matter what she did as an actress in this movie, it wouldn't have made any good. The screenplay was downright atrocious. The screenwriter for this movie should be ashamed of themselves. It truly was not a Karate Kid picture. As a matter of fact, as we all know, the Cobra Kai series, very awesome series on Netflix, going into the fourth season now, is based on the original Karate Kid trilogy. So 1, 2, and 3. They don't make mention of this movie, thank goodness, at all. And there's some fans out there saying, wouldn't it be cool to bring back the characters from the next Karate Kid and Cobra Kai? No. This movie should not exist. Plain and simple, should not exist. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do I give the next Karate Kid? I give it a 1. A 1 out of 10. I will say the reason I'm giving it a 1 is out of respect for the great actor and late actor Pat Morita portraying Mr. Miyagi. There was a couple, and when I say a couple scenes in this movie, I'm saying a grand total of maybe 2 minutes out of a hour and 47-minute movie that were not good. Okay. This movie was so bad. I've only watched it in its entirety twice now. I watched it originally when I saw it when I rented it at that time, and I was so disappointed. And then I watched it recently, and I will say it hasn't changed my opinion. It is downright horrible. So I would say skip the next Karate Kid if you want to watch it to see how to make a bad movie or how to destroy a franchise. Watch this one and then watch A Good Day to Die Hard, the fifth movie because of the Die Hard series, because both movies are very similar in the fact that they're a cheap movie to make that's just trying to make a quick buck at the box office and really pays a disrespect and a disservice to the previous series before. So the next Karate Kid never had a sequel, thank goodness for that. And I'm really happy Cobra Kai is not entertaining, taking any elements from that movie and introducing Cobra Kai. Because really, when you think about it, none of the Cobra Kai characters, Daniel or Johnny, were even in that movie. And Mr. Miyagi's passed on. So there is no reason to bring the next Karate Kid into this successful Netflix Cobra Kai series. If you want to see a good Hilary Swank movie, $1 Million Baby, night and day. Great boxing movie where she portrays a boxer. Clint Eastwood's in it too. That's the movie of her career right there. See that movie again. That's a fantastic movie. This movie, Next Karate Kid, thumbs down. All right, see you later.